Hey, what's up everyone, this is K Collections, and for today's video, I'll be doing a summary of the 2 million downloads banner, also known as the Brynhildr banner. Of course, we are also receiving 2 new 4-star servants, Beowulf, which is a 4-star Berserker, and another 4-star Lancer, Fionn. And this will be a summary, like I said, not a spotlight. I'm not going to go into too much detail. We're going to take a look at their attack cards, the hit amount, their Noble Phantasm, along with their passive and active skill. So let's just start with Brynhildr first. Well, before all that, I know a lot of you players actually compare Skahawk with Brynhildr. This is the only comparison that I'm going to make because, to be honest, they both fulfill different roles. And they both, specialize in different things. Yes, they both are Lancers. Yes, they both are 5 stars. And, of course, they have a single target Noble Phantasm. But they are most effective against different enemies, right? And I'll get to that for Brynhildr, but again, this is just a quick comparison that I thought you guys would appreciate. You guys could clearly see the stats comparison where Brynhildr has a bit more attack when compared to Skahawk. As for HP goes, they're both the same, so that's always good right there. So, like I said, let's start with Brynhildr. Her attack cards are 2 Quick, 1 Arts, and 2 Buster. And for the hit amounts, her Quick does 3 hits, Arts does 2 hits, Buster is 1 hit, her Extra does 5 hits, and her Noble Phantasm, which is a Buster card, so you can Buster Brave Chain, so I love the consistency there. It does 5 hits. Now, let's take a look at her active skill. She has Mana Burst Flame B, which is the same thing as Karna, only Karna is Flame A. So this, for Brynhildr, it is a bit weaker. So this basically increases your Buster card effectiveness and your NP strength for 1 turn. Ideally, you want to activate this skill before you use her Buster Brave Chain along with her Noble Phantasm. But, of course, this isn't a perfect world. Sometimes you can't perform a Buster Brave Chain. Then, ideally, you want to use this before you activate her Noble Phantasm. For her second skill, it's a debuff, which decreases critical hit rate of your target for 3 turns, and also decreases the MP strength for 1 turn. So, not bad whatsoever, right? Reducing some critical hit rate. I know a lot of servants, buff their own crit hit rate. And sometimes, if you can't dodge or, evade or use invincibility to basically survive a Noble Phantasm, the decrease in MP strength isn't bad, but I wouldn't really rely on that in terms of surviving your enemy servant's Noble Phantasm. Now, taking a look at her third skill, you could target any of your allies. Of course, you could target Brynhildr herself. This not only restore HP, which I really do like, you can restore anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 HP, which is an active healing skill. I always appreciate that. You don't have to wait for a Noble Phantasm to heal if you're in a dire situation. It helps with survivability. But it increases critical star gather rate of your target, and this really helps specific servants who lack in that category. So a very helpful skill right there. Now, we're going to take a look at her passive skill. She has the standard magic resistance B, which increases debuff resistance by 17.5%, which is always a good thing, right? Also, she has Riding A, which increases quick card effectiveness by 10%, and she does have 2 quick cards, so pretty decent skill right there. And Divinity E, which apply damage plus by 100. Now, we're going to look at her Noble Phantasm. So this deals significant damage to a single enemy. This will work especially well against enemy servants, more so her beloved enemies, right? Because you could deal special damage or extra damage in general to any of Brynhildr's beloved targets. And of course, it also increases critical star drop rate of all allies, which is added bonus. And if you're just curious who has the Brynhildr's beloved traits, here's all the servants that fall into this category. A decent amount of male servants in general, except for Ushi, which I do believe she's the only female servant out of everyone. Nonetheless, very effective Noble Phantasm. I know a lot of players will compare Brynhildr's Noble Phantasm with Skahawk. Both are single target, like I mentioned before, but again, both of them will fulfill different roles, even on their skill sets. It's quite different as well. So it's ultimately up to you if you want to roll for Brynhildr if you already have Skahawk. I would suggest you rolling for Brynhildr because she is so rare. I said on my previous video, it could be, I think, over a year before she comes back as a raid up or, as a available servant to potentially get. You don't want to miss out a chance on getting a really rare servant, kind of like MHX. But if you've already made up your mind that you're not going to roll for her, then don't worry about it. Or I don't want to change your mind, or I don't want to, tell you to waste your same course for a servant that you don't really want. But if you're on the fence, I say why not, use a few tickets. Right? You never know. You could have an EX like that day and pull Brynhildr, and you would have one of the rarest servants in the game. Nonetheless, ultimately, it's your choice. So let's move on to the next servant, Beowulf. So Beowulf will be the new 4-star Berserker for this banner. For his attack cards, it's a standard Berserker deck where you have 1 quick, 1 arts, and 3 buster attacks. He does have a Buster Noble Phantasm, which is always great. Again, I love the consistency in terms of attack cards. For the hit counts, quick does 3 hits, art does 3 hits, buster does 1 hit, extra attack does 4 hits, and his Noble Phantasm does a total of 12 hits, which, you know, is pretty badass. If you've seen his attack animation for his Noble Phantasm, he basically punches your enemy to death, so it's really cool right there. But I'll talk more about his Noble Phantasm in just a second, but moving on to his active skills, he does have Berserker A, which increases attack for 1 turn, as well as increases NP strength for 1 turn. Again, this is really good, especially if you could perform a Buster Brave Chain, or, you know, with his Noble Phantasm preferably as well. But again, the world isn't perfect. You do want to activate this before activating his Noble Phantasm at the very least. So a very strong skill right there. And for his second skill, we've seen this a lot of times. You basically gain critical stars, which helps for a crit team. And lastly, he has Battle Continuation B, which apply gut status for 1 time, and that lasts for 5 whole turns. Again, that's really good in terms of survivability, right? Because he's a Berserker, having a gut status for 5 whole turns will just help him, you know, stay on the field a lot longer. Now, moving on to his passive skill, he only has 1, which is Madness Enhancement E-, which is honestly the worst one. It increases Buster card effectiveness by 1%, which is not a lot to be honest, but it is what it is. I mean, it's better than absolutely nothing, I guess. Kind of wish it bumped it up just a bit more, but it's alright. Now, taking a look at his Noble Phantasm, it is a Buster card. I did already mention that. It's a single target that deals significant damage. It also ignores any evade skill that has been activated by your enemy servants or enemies in general, which is always a good thing because I know those pesky servants who use those skills to avoid any damage on the wrong possible timing. I'm glad that Beowulf had this skill to really differentiate himself from a few other Berserkers, right? Namely Hercules, because I know a lot of people will kind of compare the two. And he also decreases critical hit rate for 3 turns. And my overall opinion of Beowulf is he's pretty cool, right? It's not necessarily on my top list of, the servants I really want. And if you already have Hercules, again, I kind of feel that a lot of people will compare him with Hercules because both are single target Noble Phantasm, both have the same attack cards, right? Skills, of course, is different to a degree. But in terms of survivability, Hercules will survive a lot longer. But for Beowulf, he does have that non-avoidable Noble Phantasm attack, so there is some difference there. If you're lacking in single target Berserkers, then definitely go for Beowulf. If you already have Hercules, or if you already have like a stronger Berserker in general, let's say Kentucky or something, then you can kind of skip Beowulf. Or unless Beowulf is one of your favorite servants of all time, then definitely go for it, right? But he's not exactly necessary if you already have other Berserker to fulfill this single target damage role. But nonetheless, I still kind of want him. He looks, like I said, he looks badass. He looks absolutely amazing. Hopefully I do get him when I would roll for Brynhildr at the very least. Because, the next servant is the servant we truly want, right? Fionn, which is the Lancer class, right? Forget Brynhildr. He is the true Lancer that we all want, right? Joking aside, I absolutely hate this guy because of story reasons. If I get spooked by him, I'm gonna burn him on screen. Not really. I mean, 4 stars to 4 stars, so I do like to collect my servants, but I still hate this guy. His attack cards consist of 2 quick, 2 arts, and 1 buster. He does have an arts Noble Phantasm, which is quite unique for a Lancer, and you can always arts Brave Chain with him, and this goes especially well with his 3rd skill, which I will talk about. But for the hit amount, his quick card does 2 hits, his art does 2 hits, buster does 1 hit, extra attack does 4 hits, and his Noble Phantasm does 3 hits in total. So moving on to his active skills now, it's not bad whatsoever. His first skill is a little lackluster until you complete his strengthening quest, which will be released in the future. But pre-strengthening quest, it basically increases critical star drop rate for 3 turns, and this only applies to himself. But post-strengthening quest, this does the same effect, but it applies to all allies, right? Which is really helpful for crit teams. And not only that, it increases NP gain for 3 turns. So a very excellent skill post-strengthening quest. For his second skill, it's quite decent. I can't say it's absolutely amazing because there's only a chance that the evasion will occur, but it does apply to target focus, so all attacks will go towards Fionn. It can really help you when you're on a bind, right? When you're very desperate to survive, especially, let's say, enemy servant, right, has a Noble Phantasm that's a single target, you can always activate this skill, and hopefully the evade will go through, and you can potentially survive, right? If it doesn't, then say goodbye to Fionn. Other than that, it also decreases charm resistance against females, so I say this skill is quite decent because of the chance that the evade will go through. The apply target focus is really good because, again, it really helps with keeping other servants alive, but at the cost of Fionn, potentially. So ideally, you want to level this skill up to 1 or up to 10, so you have that 100% that the evasion will go through. Then it'll be quite decent. But you also have to keep in mind that there's an insanely long cooldown for it, so you can't always rely on the skill to survive. You know, it's kind of a, I would even say, you know, one-time deal kind of thing. Now, for his last skill, this is quite simple. It increases art cards effectiveness for 1 turn only, and I did mention this will go well with his attack cards. Most ideally, you want to use this skill before you activate a Art's Brave Chain. And other than that, it's not really as effective otherwise, so, you know, it's very situational at this point. Looking at his passive skill, he does have the standard magic resistance B, which increases debuff resistance by 17.5%, and divinity D, which applied damage plus of 125. Now, for his Noble Phantasm, it is an AoE that deals damage to all enemies. It also decreases attack of, you know, your enemies for 3 turns. On top of that, it also negates mental debuffs for 3 turns as well. So my final thoughts on Fionn is he's not that great of a servant, but then again, I could be biased because if you don't know his lore, I kind of hate him for what he did. But aside from that, his skills are kind of okay at most. Post Strengthening Quest, the first skill will be a lot more effective. His second skill, there's always the percentage that the evade won't go through. Even if you level it to, let's say, you know, 10, right, and you have 100% that the evade will go through, the cooldown is insanely long. And his last skill, you know, it does help with his Art's Brave Chain, but aside from that, it's not really as useful. But aside from that, he also has a very bad MP charge because he only has 2 hits from an Art's card. Not only that, right, if you want to spam his Noble Phantasm, you're going to have to Art's Chain with other servants. He will go excellent with Art's Team. Don't get me wrong, he will go very well with them. So potentially you could spam his Noble Phantasm with other servants, so you could Art's Chain with them. And then, you know, you could use his Noble Phantasm to do more Art's Chain, whatever the case may be. But still, you know, as an AoE Lancer, you know, there are better options, right? Lancer Alter, Karna, heck, I would even say Elizabeth, right? So you don't really need him for farming, or you don't really need him in general if you're looking for a Lancer AoE. If you already have any of the Lancers that I mentioned already, like Lancer Alter, etc., then you don't really need him. And, you know, for myself, again, I said I could be biased that I don't really like him, but just looking at his skills, it's kind of iffy at most. Nonetheless, if you really want this servant, definitely go for him, right? Don't let me stop you. And, you know, the thing is, I'm sure, actually, from previous comments on my last video, a lot of people hate him as well. So there's going to be like a huge roller coaster, huge mixture of emotions once we see that Golden Lancer card, right? Because he can't spook you, right? We could, for a second, we could think, you know, we got Brynhildr, then boom, it's Fionn. Many of us are going to break our phones, right? So, just, you know, it is what it is. You know, he is a new 4-star Lancer. I'll gladly have him in my second inventory. But other than that, I wouldn't really recommend going for him if you want, you know, a Lancer for playability-wise. So, aside from all that, let's go to the last section, which is the 2 new craft essence. This is the 4-star and 5-star craft essence. I'm not going to talk about the 3-star ones because there's just a lot. No, I'll probably make a separate video because the new 3-star craft essence will replace all the black keys, you know, the Rin's pendant, all the old stuff that we just so love. So looking at the 5-star craft essence, Vessel of the Saints, this is quite good honestly because it grants unit immunity to debuffs 3 times, not 3 turns, 3 times. So for, you know, for 3 shots, you know, let's say your enemy, you know, debuffs your servant who has this equipped 3 times, it won't have any effect on them. On top of that, it also increases units NP generation rate by 15%. Of course, if you max limit break it, the NP generation rate will be 20%. So it's definitely quite decent, right? I kind of like it, but it's very situational. You only want to use this craft essence when you're facing a servant or an enemy who debuffs your servants a lot. Other than that, it's, of course, you know, there is the NP generation rate, but there are other craft essence to use for that. So very situational, but in the right circumstances, it's not bad whatsoever. Now for the new 4-star craft essence, the Golden Millennium Tree, it increases units maximum HP by 200, and of course if you maximum break it, it'll increase it by 300 each turn. The max is 3,000 regardless of maximum breaking it and normal effect, right? So it's not bad. It does take a while. I don't really prefer these kind of craft essence because it does take time to really maximize its effect. But if you do want to use this, it's good with tanking servants like Joan of Arc or servants with strong survivability, right? Yeah, and especially if they could heal themselves, or if you have servants that could heal them, just so they could last longer, right? So in terms of survivability, it's really good, but you're just gonna have to last a lot of turns to really reach its full potential. Not something I would really use, but I can't really say it's a horrible craft essence. So that's it for this summary. Hope you guys enjoy this. Good luck on summoning for Brynhildr if you are going for her. I know a lot of people are saying for Neighbor Bride, or of course for Jolter. And if you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel because I'll be doing a lot more Fate Grand Order videos. I will be live streaming my posts for Brynhildr. And don't forget to comment down below and let me know. I'm actually very curious about this. What, on a scale of 1 to 10, how pissed off would you be if Fionn spooked you, right? Of course, that's if you're not going after him. If you do want him, then you're not going to be pissed. But on a scale of 1 to 10, how pissed off would you be if Fionn spooked you? 1 being not pissed whatsoever, you absolutely adore and love Fionn, you'll gladly welcome him to your Chaldea. 10 being you're going to burn him on the spot. And maybe let's say 7, 8, you absolutely hate his guts, but you'll kind of, like me, keep him in your second inventory. So I'd like to hear your opinion on that, right? I'd like to hear, what happens, if Fionn spooked you, how pissed off would you be? Or maybe you're happy, whatever the case may be. Nonetheless, let's have fun with this event. It's going to be great. It's coming out in, a day. Well, for me anyways. And it depends on when I upload this. It could be a couple hours. But let's enjoy this, and of course Saber Wars is ending today as well. So good luck with all the final grinds. Good luck if you're still summoning on MHX. And let's have fun with this. Till next time, have an awesome day.